Hi everyone. So I just wanted to share with you yesterday from my training with Roddy. We went through on how to give your keynote for your business building, and he was saying how it's important to think about which leaders and who has helped us to get into the John Maxwell speaking. I know for John Maxwell, he's had the opportunity to meet with world leaders and audiences with the Pope, and he's somebody very influential. So too in our communities, not here so much, but back home, my mom had the opportunity to meet with Pope John Paul II. She was selected because she was an exemplary widow in our community in Kwekwe. And she would give, not speeches, because my mom's not one for giving speeches, but she would help to organize events, fetes, cake sales, and all of us would be part of that. So she had a lot to do with my formation in growing up. She would take us to the church. For Lent, we used to have the Last Supper, where all the ladies used to get together and we would cook the soup, and then we would share that, and that would be our meal for the day, because we would fast together as a family, and then we would break our fast after the Maundy Thursday Mass, and then go home and wait for Good Friday and then the Easter traditions. So it's important to understand who our role models were and how they formed us. And even for me, when I've been here in Canada, I've had the opportunity not to be a delegate where there are church officials present, but I've been called to serve them, to be there to serve the meals, to waitress on them, and to help to serve the food. So I've been invited to do that at Regis College. And I also had the opportunity as a delegate to meet Cardinal Turkson and to spend some time with him. And this was at a time when Zimbabwe was going through major changes and major upheaval. And I remember him saying to me, "What do you want me to tell Mugabe?" I said to him, "Tell him, what is he doing? We want to come home." And he just laughed. He said, "Are you sure you want me to tell him that?" I said, "Yeah, I want you to tell him that. Do you know what my life is like in Canada?" I said, "I had such a good life at home, and we went everywhere in cars." I said, "Yeah, I have to take the bus. I can't come up financially, and it's always a bind." I said, "I can't even use my skills and education. Tell him to fix the country. Like, look at what we lost." So he just laughed. He said, "I'm going to tell him what you said." I said, "Yeah, tell him. I'm very serious." He said, "Okay, I'm going to tell him." So I guess it's important for us to remember, because every country goes through ups and downs, highs and lows. And I mean, even here, they had the big meeting for the Conservatives. And like everybody else, I got an invite. And the people travel by bus, because most people use the buses, the TTC. It's very hard to afford a car here, to afford the maintenance, the upkeep, even owning a property. The people that do it usually have support from their families for the down payments, to buy their properties. And I had to do it on my own, because I don't come from a rich family. I don't come from a family where people could put money together and help me to buy my place. So I bought it on a high-end ratio mortgage, and unfortunately I lost it. And so too with Canada. I mean, this country, everybody here is an immigrant. You know, people have come from all different places of the world, and this land belongs to the indigenous people. It's their land. The same way in Africa, many of us were taken as slaves. We were taken and put into forced labor. And I meet a lot of people today. I went for my training for the elections, and I met a few people there, and the stories coming out were all the same. Every company seems to be treating people badly. You know, the wages are poor, people are not being treated right, and it's sad. It's sad to see that that's how Canada has become, because before you could go to work, you knew your ID would be set up, your pay would be on time, you would be getting your benefits, you'd have your sick days, your vacation days, and it's sad to see there were people there much older than me, people who have retired, who need to work because they can't make ends meet. And there were people much younger than me, and people of all races, all ages. So I was telling her that, you know, for me, I'm doing my John Maxwell and I'm trying to build a business and to develop leaders, and using my leadership speaking, teaching people about leadership and good values. And you would think that there would be a big need for that, given what our country is going through in Canada and even in Zimbabwe. But I don't see people hungry for it. I don't see them having that desire to have happiness in their workplace, to make their employees happy, and through that to make their companies profitable, which is quite sad, really. I think also for me, because I was in Zimbabwe when things were good after independence, I got to see the Pope because he came to our stadium. Like many Canadians got to see the Pope in Canada, I got to see the Pope in Zimbabwe, in the country I was born in. So here, I haven't had those opportunities. I haven't been invited, I haven't been included when the Pope has come. So, you know, Pope Francis, that is, I got to see Pope John Paul II because I was born in Zimbabwe. So for us, we were given that priority. Whereas here, I'm always treated like a second-class citizen. Even today, when I went out, there's usually a bus that goes from here to Lawrence West. And it was snowing heavily this morning. So when I was waiting there was another lady, a Filipino lady, and she told me that bus that you usually take is not running. You'll have to take a bus from here and then go to Avenue Road and Bathurst and then take another bus. So I said to her, oh, I better go and take the subway then. So a journey that could have taken me up to 15 minutes, it took over an hour because I went all the way downtown on the Young Line, and then I went to my destination, and then I had to walk about 10 minutes. And coming home, I went to Eglinton, and I thought the subway would be open, but it was closed. So I had to get another bus and then get down at Lawrence and Avenue Road and then get another bus to come home. And then I got off the main road because the snow was piled so high. It was coming all the way up to my knees, and we haven't had snow like that for a long, long time. So that's the difference between owning your own car and your own place and having to take public transit. And I've been taking it all my life. I mean, I moved into the city because this is where the jobs are, and because it would be easier for me to take the subway, take the TTC to get around. And also it was promoted as being more friendly for the environment. But that doesn't mean that I never wanted to own my own car or own my own home. Like everybody, that's my aim, that's my goal. And it doesn't make you, I mean, money is not everything, but most of us who are working to earn that paycheck, to bring in that money. And it doesn't make you happy, but it does provide you options. Because at the end of the day, we are stewards of what has been given to us. And even in the Beatitudes, the readings for this week, there was this, I'm not call, but I guess this teaching about happy are you who are poor. Poor in spirit, meaning that we know that we need the Lord. Not to say poor physically, because poverty stinks. Nobody asks for poverty. Nobody wants poverty. Nobody wants to be born into poverty and filth. And I mean, even when Jesus was born, because the rooms were full, he had to be born with the animals close by. Nobody wants that. And if you see what's happening today in Zimbabwe, it's sad. With the hospitals, with the stores closing, with potholes in the road. But the African nations are coming together to fix that and to change that. And so too here in Canada, we are trying also to come together to improve our lives, to make things better. And for me, I'm using my skills in my John Maxwell, teaching about leadership development, building up my community where I am. I got selected to work for the elections, so I'll be doing that. Thankfully, this time, it's not going to be like how I had to go today. The commute won't be nearly 2 hours. It's closer to home, which is good. But wherever we are, we use our skills, we use our talents, and we contribute wherever we are. For us, for me, I still miss Zimbabwe. If I could have that lifestyle back with the warmth and the sunshine and the wildlife and peace and security, because Zimbabwe is peaceful, but now they're involved in this war in Congo. Of course I would go back. I mean, I didn't plan to come here. I came here because of political unrest and because Canada was pitched to me as a land of opportunity, as a land that needed me, as a land where it's going to be hard and they're reluctant to put me through, but where I was promised that if you work hard, you can own a home, you can buy your car, you can travel. And that isn't what has happened for me. Other people who have come in after me have been promoted in the banks, have been given security, have been given support for their families in Africa. Even when I've told people, my mom is a widow, I brought her from Zimbabwe, her teeth are crumbling, we can't get her medical care. We can't get her, she's had a growth in the back of her eye and she's had to have 2 surgeries on that eye because of the stress and the pressure here in Canada. And she raised us 3 children on her own. Even with people knowing that, the church has refused to help us. Foundations have refused to help us. People have refused to help us. So that's why, even for me, if I get an opportunity in America or in England or in an English-speaking country, I'll go. Because here in Canada, we have 2 official languages. We have French and we have English. So to get to those senior positions, you have to be able to communicate, and that is to speak and write and present in both languages. And I can't do that. And many of the jobs that are coming out now are bilingual. So for me, I have to go where I'm going to be able to use my skills and where that's not going to be used to hurt me, to keep me in minimum wage, or to keep me out of work completely, because that's what is being promoted. And there are many places in the world, there are many countries in the world where you don't have to be bilingual or trilingual. And so that's what I will be looking for. And everyone that I spoke to, they agreed with me. They said, yes, if you get an opportunity where, you're going to earn well and you're going to have job security, you should go. Because there's no point staying in a country where somebody like you has invested in the country, has come here with money and skills and is honest and ethical, and you're getting nowhere in life. So I think it's important for us to remember that and to also look at how we're being treated. Are we being invited when the Pope is coming, when the cardinals are coming, like Cardinal Turkson? Are we being included? Is our voice important? Because what Canada's going through, where people are desecrating the statues of Sir John A. Macdonald, and the frustration the African nations went through that, because the African people said, you are abusing us, you're treating us badly. And when I say African, I mean all races, all of those who were treated badly, because we did have whites, Indians, coloreds who were very, very poor. And the crown took everything, the British crown. All our jewels, all our wealth, everything went to them. And they're still benefiting from it. And the same thing with people. To them, we are just resources. We're just a number. So when they finished using us, they'll move on and they'll use the next one. And that's not how we were raised to be. We were raised to care for your employees, to value them, to appreciate their skills and talents. So we have to look at those things as well, which is not to say that we encourage people to desecrate statues and break things and fly the Palestinian flag on Flag Day instead of the Canadian flag. But it's to say that we understand, because we've gone through that hurt, and we want people to be faithful to Canada, yes. But if our lives here are being pushed into poverty and destruction and not improving and a poor health, then we have to go where there's going to be a land of opportunity, where we can come up, where we can do well, where we can be successful. And being successful is not only about money. It's also about being able to see our families, our friends, of having security, of having peace. So for me, business building is not just about building your business at all costs. It's about the values that we're building in our society, including the values that we take from our faith. So I wanted to share that with you. And that's just my journey. Other people come to Canada and they do well. They get the support, they get funding for their education, they get money to send home to their families. And if it had been someone else's mother, they probably would have said, oh yeah, you know what, we'll help them. But unfortunately for me, for my journey, that hasn't been my experience. So I put my faith in God and I keep moving forward. And I don't close my eyes, I don't wear blinders, I'm not a horse. I look for opportunities elsewhere in the world as well. Because I can take my Canadian skills and education and everything I've learned here, and I can use it somewhere else. And use it in a place that is going to value me, respect me, and help me to build up a fruitful life, which includes having financial security. So I wanted to leave you with that. And the people I met were very nice. They did say that if they hear of opportunities where I can use my John Maxwell, they will let me know. And they know I have the license to do that. So that's how I do it. I keep talking to people, letting them know what I've done, what I have to offer. And I take the opportunities that come up to build up Canada as well.